Nobody expected XRP to survive this long under pressure. Not after the lawsuits, not after the delistings, and definitely not after the fear campaign that surrounded Ripple for years. But now something strange is happening. XRP is suddenly showing signs of strength again, and investors across the crypto world are starting to ask one dangerous question. What if XRP was never supposed to fail? Right now, while most retail investors are distracted by meme coins and short-term hype, some of the biggest financial players in the world are quietly watching Ripple very closely. And the reason is simple. XRP is no longer behaving like a normal cryptocurrency. The price movements, the legal battle, the institutional interest, and the sudden return of bullish momentum are creating one of the most explosive setups the crypto market has seen in years. But here's where things get even more interesting. There are growing rumors that powerful billionaires may already be connected to XRP behind the scenes. Names like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and even Jeff Bezos keep appearing in online discussions around Ripple. Some people believe these tech giants understand something the average investor still does not see. Others think this is just another crypto conspiracy theory. But what if there's actually more to the story? One thing is undeniable. Elon Musk has changed crypto markets before with a single tweet. We saw it happen with Dogecoin. We saw it happen with Bitcoin. Entire markets exploded just because Elon mentioned them publicly, so naturally investors started wondering whether XRP could someday receive the same kind of attention. Now imagine this for a second. A cryptocurrency already fighting the SEC, already attracting global attention, already being used for international payments, suddenly gets support from major tech billionaires or financial institutions. That kind of scenario could completely change the future of XRP overnight. And this is exactly why XRP holders are becoming more aggressive. Many investors no longer see XRP as just another altcoin. They see it as a long-term financial infrastructure project, a system designed not for memes or hype, but for real-world banking and global money transfers. That's why even after massive crashes, XRP communities continue growing stronger. At the same time, Ripple itself keeps expanding internationally. While regulators in the United States continue creating uncertainty, Ripple has been quietly building partnerships in other countries. Banks, payment providers, and financial networks are all exploring faster ways to move money globally, and Ripple keeps positioning itself right in the middle of that future. This is why the SEC lawsuit became such a massive event for crypto, because the case is no longer just about Ripple. It's about whether cryptocurrencies can exist inside the traditional financial system without being crushed by regulators. And many XRP investors believe the SEC accidentally created something much bigger than expected. Instead of destroying XRP, the lawsuit may have turned Ripple into one of the most recognized crypto projects on Earth. Think about how strange that is. Most cryptocurrencies disappear after facing legal pressure. Investors panic. Communities collapse. Prices die slowly over time. But XRP did the opposite. Every major attack seemed to create even more loyal supporters. And then came one of the biggest moments in the entire case. Thousands of XRP holders decided they didn't want to sit quietly anymore. Investors, developers, small business owners, and everyday crypto users started organizing together. They argued that XRP was not just some company-owned asset. They believed it had become part of an entire ecosystem used by real people around the world. That's when legal intervention efforts started gaining attention. Suddenly, the SEC was not just fighting Ripple anymore. They were facing pressure from a massive community of XRP holders who believed their investments and businesses were being unfairly damaged. And for many people watching the case, this completely changed public perception. Instead of XRP looking weak, it started looking resilient. And markets noticed. As legal optimism began spreading, XRP experienced explosive price action. Buyers rushed back into the market. Momentum returned quickly. Some traders who ignored XRP for years suddenly started watching it again. Others regretted selling during the fear, because deep down, investors know something important about crypto markets. Narratives change everything. The moment fear turns into hope, prices can move violently. And XRP has always been one of the most emotional cryptocurrencies in the market. People either completely believe in it or completely hate it. There's almost no middle ground. That emotional energy creates volatility, and volatility creates opportunity. Recently, XRP started rebounding strongly from key support zones. Buyers defended important price levels aggressively, signaling that large groups of investors still believe the long-term story is alive. Technical analysts began pointing toward bullish breakout structures forming on the charts, but at the same time, danger still exists. The market remains extremely unstable. Bearish momentum has not fully disappeared. Short-term pullbacks continue shaking out weak investors. Every rally creates new excitement, but every correction creates fear again. This emotional cycle is exactly what makes XRP so fascinating, because behind every price movement is a battle between belief and doubt. One side believes XRP could become part of the future global financial system. The other side believes regulators will never fully allow it to succeed. And somewhere in the middle, ordinary investors are trying to decide whether XRP is one of the greatest opportunities in crypto or one of the riskiest bets ever created. But the next phase of this story may be even bigger, because hidden behind the price charts and legal headlines is another development most investors are completely ignoring: a technological shift inside blockchain infrastructure that could reshape how crypto networks operate in the future. And strangely enough, XRP may already be preparing for it. Part 2. Most people only focus on XRP's price. They wake up, check the chart, panic during dips, celebrate during pumps, and repeat the same emotional cycle every week. But smart investors know something most retail traders ignore. The real battle is happening underneath the surface. Because while social media argues about whether XRP will hit $5, $10, or even $100 someday, Ripple keeps developing technology designed for something much bigger than speculation: global financial efficiency. That may sound boring at first, but once you understand how much money moves around the world every single day, you begin realizing why some investors are obsessed with XRP's future. Right now, international payments are surprisingly slow. Banks often take days to settle transactions between countries. Fees remain high. Systems are outdated. And billions of dollars become trapped inside financial networks simply because the process is inefficient. Ripple wants to change that. Their vision has always been about moving money faster across borders using blockchain technology. Instead of waiting days for settlement, transactions could happen almost instantly. Instead of huge intermediary costs, transfers could become dramatically cheaper. And XRP plays a central role in that idea. This is why many supporters believe Ripple is building infrastructure instead of hype. While thousands of crypto projects focus only on memes, NFT speculation, or short-term trends, Ripple positioned itself closer to traditional finance. Some crypto investors love that strategy. Others completely hate it because they believe crypto should remain independent from banks. But whether people like Ripple or not, one fact keeps standing out: major institutions continue paying attention. And institutions do not care about internet hype. They care about efficiency, speed, liquidity, and profit. If XRP can solve real-world financial problems, then large players may eventually use it regardless of online criticism. This possibility is exactly why the XRP community stayed alive during the darkest periods of the SEC lawsuit. Most investors understood that if Ripple survived the legal pressure, the reward could become enormous. And then the chart started showing signs of life again. After heavy corrections, XRP managed to rebound from major support zones. Buyers defended the market aggressively around critical levels. Technical traders noticed descending channels beginning to weaken. Momentum slowly started shifting. Suddenly, bullish predictions returned everywhere. Crypto influencers began talking about XRP breakout patterns again. Analysts discussed resistance zones near previous highs. Traders debated whether XRP could reclaim lost territory and start another explosive rally. But experienced investors remained cautious. Because crypto markets are emotional traps. One green candle makes people think they will become millionaires overnight. One red candle makes them think the entire market is collapsing forever. Real investors learn how to survive between those emotions. And XRP creates more emotional swings than almost any other major cryptocurrency, partly because the stakes feel enormous. If Ripple loses regulatory battles, bearish pressure could return aggressively. But if Ripple gains legal clarity and institutional adoption expands, XRP could enter a completely different phase of growth. That's why every court update creates huge reactions across the crypto market. Some investors even believe the SEC case unintentionally gave XRP free global marketing. Think about it. Millions of people who never cared about Ripple suddenly learned about XRP because of the lawsuit. Media attention exploded. Crypto communities debated it constantly. In a strange way, controversy made XRP more famous. And attention is one of the most valuable assets in financial markets. But here's another layer most people still don't fully understand. XRP supporters are no longer just retail traders hoping for quick profits. Many developers, businesses, and blockchain innovators now see the XRP ledger as a serious technological ecosystem. Applications continue being built around it. Payment systems continue evolving. That creates a different type of confidence. Instead of depending only on hype cycles, XRP increasingly depends on utility narratives. And utility-based narratives tend to survive longer during difficult markets. Still, risks remain everywhere. Crypto regulation continues changing globally. Governments are trying to decide how digital assets fit into the financial system. Some countries are embracing blockchain innovation. Others are becoming more restrictive. This uncertainty creates fear. But fear also creates opportunity. Historically, the biggest fortunes in investing were often built during moments when uncertainty scared away average investors. People who bought assets during chaos sometimes achieved life-changing returns later. Of course, not every risky investment succeeds, and that's what makes XRP so controversial. Supporters see a future financial giant. Critics see a centralized project facing endless regulatory problems. Both sides believe they are right. Meanwhile, XRP keeps surviving, and survival matters in crypto. Thousands of cryptocurrencies disappeared over the years. Entire projects collapsed. Communities vanished. Developers abandoned promises. But XRP stayed relevant through multiple market cycles, legal attacks, and public criticism. That resilience alone caught the attention of many long-term investors. But something else is happening now that could push XRP into an entirely different conversation. Blockchain infrastructure itself is evolving rapidly. Developers are experimenting with new systems involving network fragmentation, randomness generation, interoperability, and decentralized transaction coordination. These technologies may sound complicated, but their goal is simple: faster systems, safer systems, more scalable systems. And some analysts believe Ripple's ecosystem may benefit massively from this next generation of blockchain infrastructure. If that happens, XRP may stop being viewed as just another cryptocurrency. It could start being viewed as financial technology infrastructure for a digital economy. And if that narrative truly begins spreading across institutional markets, the current price levels people argue about today may eventually look unbelievably small in hindsight. Part 3. Here's the uncomfortable truth most crypto channels never say out loud. The majority of investors lose money because they chase emotions instead of understanding narratives. When markets explode upward, people feel unstoppable. They buy near the top because everyone around them sounds confident. Then fear arrives, prices collapse, and those same investors panic sell at the worst possible moment. This cycle happens constantly in crypto, and XRP investors know this better than almost anyone. Over the years, XRP holders experienced massive rallies, brutal crashes, endless legal uncertainty, exchange delistings, media attacks, and nonstop volatility. Many people gave up completely. Some sold at huge losses. Others moved into newer projects chasing faster gains. But a core group stayed. And that loyalty continues surprising the crypto world. Why? Because many XRP supporters are not just investing in price action anymore. They are investing in a belief about the future of money itself. They believe traditional financial systems are outdated. They believe international payments need modernization. And they believe Ripple positioned itself early for that transformation. Whether that belief becomes reality remains unknown. But belief itself is powerful in financial markets. Entire industries have been built on narratives long before profits actually arrived. Look at technology companies during the internet boom. Investors weren't only buying current earnings. They were buying visions of the future. The same thing happens inside crypto today. Projects that convince people they are building tomorrow's infrastructure often attract enormous attention. And XRP continues sitting directly in that conversation, especially now that institutional adoption discussions are growing again. Banks and financial companies are increasingly exploring blockchain solutions. Governments are researching digital currencies. Payment systems are evolving faster than ever before. This global shift matters, because if financial institutions eventually integrate blockchain technology at large scale, projects already connected to payment infrastructure could gain huge advantages. That possibility is why XRP bulls remain extremely confident despite years of volatility. Some even compare the current stage of crypto adoption to the early internet era. Back then, most people underestimated how deeply the internet would eventually transform everyday life. Today, many investors wonder whether blockchain technology is approaching a similar moment. And if that's true, then projects with strong infrastructure use cases may benefit the most. But XRP's path remains dangerous. The SEC battle still casts a shadow over everything. Regulatory uncertainty continues affecting investor psychology. Every negative headline creates fear. Every positive development creates explosive optimism. That emotional imbalance is exactly why XRP experiences such violent price swings. Recently, traders watched XRP bounce aggressively after major declines. Support zones held stronger than expected. Buyers stepped back into the market with force. Analysts started discussing breakout structures once again. Technical indicators also became a major focus. Some traders pointed toward bullish momentum rebuilding above moving averages. Others warned that bearish pressure had not fully disappeared. Resistance levels remained critical. Momentum indicators continued fluctuating. In simple terms, the market remains undecided, and undecided markets often produce the biggest surprises. Because when enough pressure builds inside a tight range, the eventual breakout can become explosive. That's why so many investors continue watching XRP closely despite all the uncertainty. They know something massive could happen eventually. The only question is direction. Will XRP become one of the biggest comeback stories in crypto history? Or will regulatory pressure permanently limit its growth? Right now, nobody truly knows. But behind all the speculation, one thing keeps becoming clearer. Blockchain technology itself is advancing faster than most people realize. Developers are creating systems designed to improve scalability, interoperability, decentralization, and transaction efficiency. Concepts like distributed randomness generation and network fragmentation may sound technical, but they solve important problems inside blockchain ecosystems. Traditional blockchains often struggle with congestion and scalability during periods of heavy usage. New approaches aim to divide workloads more efficiently while maintaining security and decentralization. This matters because future financial systems will require enormous transaction capacity, not thousands of transactions, millions, potentially billions. If blockchain networks cannot scale effectively, mass adoption becomes difficult. That's why infrastructure innovation matters so much for the future of crypto. And this is where XRP supporters become extremely bullish. Many believe Ripple's focus on efficiency and transaction speed positions it well for large-scale financial applications. Compared to slower and more expensive blockchain systems, XRP transactions remain relatively fast and low cost. That practical advantage keeps attracting attention, even during bear markets, even during lawsuits, even during negative media cycles. Now combine that with growing global interest in digital finance, central bank digital currencies, and cross-border payment modernization, and suddenly XRP starts looking less like a speculative gamble and more like a strategic long-term bet. Of course, there are no guarantees. Crypto remains risky, markets remain irrational, and narratives can change overnight. But one thing is certain, the battle around XRP is no longer small. It involves regulators, institutions, developers, retail investors, financial infrastructure, and global payment systems all colliding together inside one project. That level of attention alone makes XRP one of the most important cryptocurrencies to watch in the coming years. And if momentum continues building, the next chapter could become even crazier than anything we've seen so far.